Good morning, folks.
A few days ago, I had an exchange with a pro-black on YouTube. And once again, as per usual, I had to own his ass. I had to school him on a few points. Okay, now we have to go back a while when I made a reaction video to King Rich's video regarding, well, just at the end of the day, I made a reaction video to King Rich's video. So this character now made a comment to my video to a point that I made. Now, I made the point that not every man can get a beautiful woman, let alone a woman. But that wasn't the point that this character, this simp, this white knight, this caper, this saver hoe was making a point on, right? I also went further to say not every black man can get a black woman, you know, because as you already know, there's a shopping list a lot of black women have. Well, a lot of women have in general, you know, 6 high, 6 figure, 6-pack, must be a 6 out of 10. You know the whole 9 yards. Anyway, so this is one of his 2 points, which I had to destroy. I had to own his ass. Anyway, first point he made, he said, every black man can get a black woman, and his evidence was, look at black countries, they have no problem getting black women. Right. Where do I begin with that one? Right. First starters, he's comparing, let's take the UK and United States of America. I'm here in the UK by my accent, you could tell. And the reference of King Rich's video was to do with what he sees here in the UK, and also in terms of what he also saw in the United States of America. From when I last looked, the UK and United States of America were not quote unquote black countries. They were predominantly white countries. So he's comparing a black country, i.e. maybe country of the Caribbean, or one of the many countries in the continent of Africa, with a predominantly white country, and somehow he think that's a valid comparison. Fool, right? No, it isn't. So that's destroy number one. Destroy number two, right? He says, oh, some of these niggas, right, they get rejected from a black woman, they use that excuse to date outside their race. And what did he say? They get up all in their feelings, and they use that as an excuse or some bullshit like that, right? Okay, I've made reference to this in my audiobook that I've published. Tales from the Little Black Book, One Man's Journey on the Dating Scene, available on Rakuten Kobo. Anyway, enough of the advertising. So I'm in chapter 26. I talk about Too Black and Ugly, and I talk about the point where simps, capers, white knights like this chump here, right, are guilty of. They ignore the bad behavior of the women. They give bad behavior a free pass. They simp for these unpleasant bitches, and they put the blame on the person, the man who's on the receiving end of their bad behavior, right? Wrong, right? Let me break this down even further, right? What you should have done, now this is why I don't have respect for many of you pro-blacks. Now, though I agree with most of what you say, I see the point that you're making, but where we part companies is, one, when you think you have the authority to tell people who they should and shouldn't be attracted to, and two, most importantly, is when you ignore bad behavior and you give bad behavior a pass, and you put the blame on the person who's on the receiving end, right? If a guy came to me and said, I don't bother approaching any black women because I get a better response from women outside my race, and the black women I have approached, they've been horrible and unpleasant towards me, so I don't approach them. First thing I would do, I would respect him by acknowledging his experience. I won't pretend that it's a figment of his imagination or those unpleasant bitches don't exist, because you know they do. I know they do. I've met them. You've met them. You've seen them. I've seen them. I've experienced them myself. You've experienced them yourself. So don't, I was going to swear. So don't effing try to make up they don't exist and cape for them, you simp, right? So I'd acknowledge their existence. Likewise, any woman of any color. There's a bitch. There's a horrible bitch in every race, every nation, right? So white women don't get a pass on this. Asian women don't get a pass on this. Arabs, they don't get a pass on this. There's a bitch in every freaking country, every race, right? So I would acknowledge him first. Then I would turn to him and say, okay, I'm sorry to hear that you've had experience of those horrible bitches. Those horrible bitches, you know, you don't want them in your life anyway. They done you a favor. You don't need an unpleasant bitch like that. However, I would implore you, please do not make the innocent pay for the crimes of the guilty. That's how I would approach. I would acknowledge those horrible bitches exist, but then steer them in the right path and say, well, look, you know, the good ones, they don't deserve to pay for the sins of those. So bear that in mind. You know, okay, I understand you're going to be a bit more cautious. You're going to approach a black woman. I understand that, but please don't make the good ones pay for the bad ones. There. Now, if you pro-blacks came with that, with that approach, then yeah, I would have respect for you, 100%. But no, you're like some of these Christians who want to ignore the immoral scriptures in the Bible, like where it talks about justifying slavery and genocide and kill every man, woman and child and keep the virgins for yourself. Or when Lot said to the mob, oh, come into my house and do what you please with my daughters. Oh, you know, you want to ignore all of that, or you want to make excuses for it. And your simps are the same. You want to make excuses for these horrible bitches out there, right? You want to simp for them and keep for them, and you're excusing bad behavior, and that's never right. That's never right. So that's where the school is. And as usual, he had no response. No response. You know, sometimes at the worst case scenario, when a person can't address the truth that you spit, or they can't address the talking points, what do? They attack the person who's making the valid points. That's why Kevin Samuels is good for your ass. You had a Kevin Samuels a long time coming, believe me. So anyway, that's all I say on the matter. Thank you very much, Samuel Jackson.